Today, we talk about creating content for heavily regulated industries. This show is for everyone working at the coalface. Digital, business, marketing, social. This is At the Coalface with your host, Jason Greenwood. Hello everybody, I'm Jason Greenwood. Welcome to episode 12 of At the Coalface. Today I wanted to talk to you about something that's near and dear to my heart, especially in the business space in which I operate, in which the company I work for, HealthPost, operates. It's the subject of creating content for heavily regulated industries. And to use our industry as an example, the natural health space is very, very heavily regulated. In some respects, it's more heavily regulated than the mainstream medical industry, drug industry, etc. in terms of what we can say about our products, how we can promote our products, even down to the level of customer reviews and having to vet customer reviews so that it doesn't come across as a promotional promise in any way, so that it doesn't say that something can cure something or that it can improve a medical condition or anything like that. So our industry is extremely heavily regulated, and there are many industries like that. So whether you're playing in the legal space and not being able to give legal advice online, there's a tremendous amount of industries that have certain ramifications to the regulations that are brought down at a government level, whether that be local government, national government, whatever the case may be. And every country is a little bit different, but most countries have at least a body of regulation around what you can say and what you can do online. So when we look at content full stop, the one thing that never ever changes is the need to tell a great story. So if you've got a fantastic brand and you've got a fantastic brand story, you can talk about that all day long. If the products that you sell, whether you manufacture them yourself or whether you resell products on behalf of other manufacturers, you can tell their brand stories, because in my experience, more often than not, even if you're simply a reseller of another brand's product, so let's say you buy products off of a distributor, whether it be local or international, you import the products, you buy them locally off a distributor, and then you resell them online. The reality is that the vast majority of those manufacturers don't tell their brand story very well at all. They don't really open their kimono. They don't really get out there and tell their story in a convincing, emotional, transparent, honest way, because they're typically selling their products through resellers, so through retailers and through the reseller channel. And as a result of that, they don't have to, because they don't need to tell their brand story to their resellers, because their resellers already know their brand story. They're already selling those products because they're profitable, because they're in demand, and a whole raft of other reasons. Maybe they have exclusive rights to sell a certain range of those products from that distributor or from that manufacturer. Maybe they get great prices. Maybe they've got great margin. Maybe that particular supplier or distributor or manufacturer simply makes a product that is so good and so unique that there's nothing else like it, and so really that's the only supplier they can go to get that particular product, and that's an enviable position for the manufacturer or the distributor to be in, and not all of them are. So what we look at doing, and what we're going to look increasingly at doing at HealthPost, and what I would urge everybody who operates in a very heavily regulated market to do, is to look at telling the brand story of both themselves as well as the products that they carry. So really, you need to be able to talk very openly about how you do what you do, about your brand history, about the type of service that you give, about the experience that a customer is going to have when they do business with you, doing site walkthroughs of your warehouse, doing site walkthroughs of your customer service team, your dispatch areas, your inwards goods areas, having conversations and doing internal interviews, if you will, on video of key staff, and talking about their role and talking about how they do what they do and why it matters to them and why the customer matters to them and how what they do impacts the customer experience and what those touch points are. You know, those are very powerful stories to tell, and they really they create a connection via that content that you can't get any other way. So, you know, a website can often come across as very impersonal. The experience can come across as very intangible and very remote. Well, but it doesn't have to, especially in today's day and age of both social media, interactive content such as photo and video, and the ease at which you can expose those things via your website. You know, and even to the point where, you know, if in the beginning you probably don't have a massively large budget to create huge amounts of content, especially video content, which does require an effort not only in filming, but it requires at least a little bit of post-production, and it just requires some effort to make sure that it looks good and that it looks professional. And so one of the ways in which you can kind of leverage that content across your entire website with a relatively small amount of content is to do some videos around, or you know, write a few pages of content or some blocks of content around the particular brands that you carry. So let's say you hypothetically, you know, you carry brand X and you have access to the owners or the distributors of brand X, so that you can actually go and you can meet with them, you can shoot a Q&A type of video with them. You might even be able to take a walkthrough of their facilities and shoot some great shots about that, and about how maybe their manufacturing process and what makes them unique, what makes them special, what makes them better than their competitors. And then what you can do is then you can start to embed that particular bit of content on every single product page of products from that brand. So that way, instead of creating a unique piece of content that has to go on every single product page, so let's say you've got 500 products from this particular supplier, you don't necessarily in that instance have to create 500 videos or 500 pieces of content. You can create one around that particular brand and then make sure that that is embedded dynamically across every single product page of that brand's products. So there's some smart ways in which you can leverage the ability to create small sort of micro pieces of content, but then use them in really smart ways and expansively on your website. So, you know, as I said, these brands, most manufacturers, most distributors are really, really poor at telling their brand story. They don't know how to tell their brand story. They don't necessarily have great ways of telling, you know, the unique value proposition of their product, the unique USPs, the unique selling points of their products. And so the one thing that regulation will never stop you from doing is telling your story honestly and telling your product's background, history, and story authentically. As long as you're truthful, as long as you're honest, as long as you don't lie, there's absolutely nothing that any regulation can do to stop that. And so that's my singular, most important piece of advice around creating really valuable, really sticky, really touching, really you know, powerful content that can create a really strong bond between you and your customers, and also is a fantastic way to draw in new audiences as well. So let's say you create YouTube videos of the type of content I'm referring to, and you do these interviews, you do the walkthroughs, you do the background and the history of the product and the brand and their whole story, and it's really just a rich, immersive, fantastic experience. And it's looking behind the scenes. It satisfies the need of your customers to be sort of voyeuristic about the brands that they're buying from and interacting with. If you do that, then you are automatically expanding your audience outside of your own website and outside of your own platforms that house your content. So obviously the moment that you upload to YouTube, if anybody's searching for that particular brand or that particular product, then they may run across your videos, which obviously will then link back and provide some information both in the description and maybe in the videos themselves about how they can access that product through you. So, you know, think like a publisher. Treat the content as if it's the product in the first place. Be authentic, be real, tell true stories, tell things that are authentic, And that's going to create the bond, that's going to create the connection, that's going to create the gateway drug for people to come in and want to do business with you. Not necessarily today, not necessarily tomorrow, but when they are looking for that particular product and when they have a need for that particular product or that particular brand's products, then you are there where that audience is when they are ready to purchase. So that's my piece of advice. Hopefully it works well for you. Give us some feedback in the comments. I feel like I'm at a point now in terms of the content that hopefully I've earned the right to ask for some feedback, to ask for some interaction, to ask for some comments. Do you operate in a highly regulated industry? How have you approached the content creation dilemma when you can't, when you can't make claims around your products in any way, shape, or form, really about their effectiveness or anything like that? You're very limited in the way that you can describe your products and talk about your products to your customers, especially digitally. How have you dealt with that? Have you dealt with it, or have you ignored it? And have you just hoped that the product, the name, and the basic, generic vanilla description of that product is going to do the job for you? Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about the concept of telling the brand story behind those products that you sell instead of talking about just the product themselves, and hopefully we can get a great dialogue going. Hopefully that's been helpful. Let me know. Talk to you soon.